And, I guess this leads me into something else, which I found an article in the most unlikely of places, actually. So this is on ratemds.com. All right, it's sort of like Yelp for doctors. And the title of this article is Childhood Trauma is Linked to Environmentalism as an Adult. And so this came out last year. And so what this article is basically saying is that people who experience trauma actually seem to show increased empathy and civic engagement in the long run after they have, like, if the trauma doesn't claim their life, and they do recover from it, they come back a stronger, more empathetic, and socially conscious person. So, public engagement and early experiences. A study done by researchers at the University of Colorado at Boulder surveyed 450 American adults. Their goal was to examine people who engage in civic causes and display, quote, green behavior. Civic engagement was measured in how many hours participants devoted to environmental protection causes each month. This included also writing letters to officials, donating time and resources to organizations, as well as personal habits. Although personal habits doesn't go super. What we need to do is take control of production and change that. Like shorter showers and that kind of thing doesn't really do that much for the environment, because the biggest polluters are corporations and the military. So yeah. But the study found that people who had experienced childhood trauma were more likely to engage in both private green behavior and public environmental engagement. It isn't known why trauma at a young age can result in this, really, but some researchers feel it may have to do with developing a stronger sense of empathy. Quote, it suggests that there could be another way of looking at trauma, said the study's lead author. Yeah. So most of the people, and I've discussed this before, most of the people who get involved in a socialist movement and left politics generally are people who have been thrown away by society or suffered some kind of trauma to the point where they realize that this system doesn't work for them and that the people who run it are fucking psychopathic shitheads who would just sell the entire planet for enough money, if they got the right offer on it. And yeah, so it's like people who are in marginalized and oppressed groups, a lot of times are more likely to have these realizations and have the kinds of mental breakthroughs that lead to developing social consciousness, and who do the math in their head about, walking down the different logic flowcharts of how do we get change, what will actually work, what does history show, and they become a socialist. And so, yeah, definitely people who experience trauma much more likely to see through the bullshit. And, this is also like people who've dealt with narcissistic abuse and who have been gaslit on a personal level, whether it was in a relationship, like a romantic relationship or a friendship, or a toxic family system. And, there can be narcissists that hijack family systems as well. People who've confronted that in their private life on the micro level, I think that a lot of those lessons do translate to the macro, larger society, because we're all just human beings in the end. A lot of that stuff does transfer out into the sociological domain. If you're able to confront an abuser and usurper, and sort of deal with that and overcome that on a small scale, you might start recognizing those same patterns on a macro scale. But just kind of funny to see that popping up on ratemds.com.